everybody, it's the Warhipster here, coming at you with another Contrast Plus resin hammer tutorial. Today we are painting Njal Stormcaller of the Space Wolves. Yes, he's a really cool little resin project from the old days, and well, we're going to be painting him for you today. So without further ado, we're going to jump in and get started. He's been primed in grey cere, and the colour we're going to be using first is Space Wolves Grey. I'm going to be using this across all of his armour. I just want to be a little bit careful here. I want to get a nice smooth coat of the Space Wolves Grey all over. However, if you have seen any of my previous Space Wolves tutorials, you know that the next step is designed to help fix these problems if they should arise. And well, we do want to just kind of limit ourselves, or rather create less work for ourselves by getting these nice smooth coats on first. Just like I'm doing here, keeping the paint to the tip of the brush, or at least keeping the strokes with the paintbrush to the tip of the brush. And just going back to the paint pot frequently and often, rather than loading up that brush too much. And just take it a section at a time to ensure that we get a nice smooth coat across all of his armour. Now helpfully, he has got a lot of runes etched in to a lot of his armour paints, so there is somewhere for the contrast paint to run into more often than not. So do just make sure you work it into these areas. And just take it as steadily as you can. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take a roughly 7 parts contrast medium to 1 part rust grey. Normally it's a little bit thinner, but for the sake of Njal, because he's got all of these runes and stuff, we actually want this to be a little bit kind of not quite as thin. We're going to take a sort of roughly 7 or 8 parts contrast medium to 1 part rust grey, and we want this to just be quite watery because we're effectively making a glaze here. And what we want to do with this rust grey is we want to use this to strengthen out the colour of his armour by just painting this over the flat panels like this, whilst avoiding the recesses. And this is just going to, as I say, strengthen out the colour, but it's also going to help to mask any sort of dark splodges that you might have made by accident. It's also just going to help to smooth out that resin fine cast. Because it's not perfect. But as you can see on that foot, it's already done a really good job just from this one glaze. Now you just want to be really careful around the runes. However, if you do get a little bit of this in there, because it's so thin, you do have a window of opportunity wherein to just use the tip of your brush to clean it off and just lift it out. You of course don't have to use contrast medium, you could use any medium. As I say, because it's so thin, you shouldn't have a problem correcting any mistakes. You just want to go around like this, like I'm doing here. Quite methodically. And then once that's done, we'll come back. So with that done, as you can see, we've got this really lovely Space Wolves coloured armour. It just looks fantastic. Now we're not going to do any highlights on it just yet. What we are going to do now is go through and get the rest of the base coats on. Now the next one that we're going to be using is NAZDREG Yellow, and this is going to be for his shoulder pad just here, which I originally painted with Space Wolves Grey, but I have recovered it with grey cere. Now the reason we're using NAZDREG Yellow is this gives us that nice kind of slightly colder look that he has. On the product photography. Now he's been knocking around a while. The application is broadly the same as it was for the Space Wolves Grey. But you could use the Yandan Yellow here if you wish, for a slightly warmer look. Like that. And what we're also going to do is going to use this NAZDREG yellow over the top of his little pouch, just down here. So with that NAZDREG yellow applied, what we're then going to do is going to take some Flesh Tearers Red. I'm going to use this to paint in the smooth areas of the inside of all of his cloaks. And with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some black Templar. And we're going to use this to paint in quite a few different details. So we've firstly got areas like the soft joints in his armour, for example, just here in the back of his leg. Just like this. Just get that little detail finished. Like that. We've also got in there on both of his arms, but we're also going to use this black Templar to colour in any of the ribbed cables. There's one just here. It comes all the way up. Like this. We're going to use this across the entire of the staff handle. And we're also going to use this over the top of the bird. And so with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some GORE-GRUNTA fur. I'm going to use this for his hair and beard. And this is going to give us that sort of orangey, reddy brown look that Njal has. Without going straight for, HOUND orange or something like that. GORE-GRUNTA fur is quite, well, it's perfect for this kind of thing. So you just want to very carefully get this over all of his hair and beard. Like this. And don't forget about the little strands that disappear into his Terminator armour. And also just try to avoid his mouth as well. But if you do get some on there, don't worry too much. You just neaten it back up with some grey cere. So that GORE-GRUNTA fur applied, what we then do is we take some FYRESLAYER flesh. I'm going to use this for his skin. So basically for his face. Just like that. So with that now done, what we're going to do is we're going to work on all of the fur. Now there's lots of it. There's his pelt here, this bit here over the top, these little kind of wolf's tails and things like that. And they are all over the place. And well, we're going to be using 3 colours to do this. We're going to be using Skeleton Horde, Wildwood and Black Templar. We're going to be using all 3 at the same time. So we're going to demonstrate here on this pelt, and we're also going to do a little bit around the head, but the head is going to be slightly different. So we're just mostly going to focus on this for the majority of it and for the majority of that bit there, but the head we're just going to leave separate just for now. So firstly what we do is we take some skeleton horde. We're just going to whack this all over the fur, just like this. We're not looking for small controlled brush strokes. We do want to be careful when we get close to the Space Wolves grey and any other areas that we might have painted, but mostly for now we just want to get this on there, just like I'm doing here, just like this. We'll just get it all over this section. I'm being very liberal with the skeleton horde. There's another good reason for that. I'm just making sure that we work it right in to all of these details, because it is fine cast, and fine cast was can be a little tricky to work with. It is very finely detailed, so it's got a lot of layered bits of wolf fur in there, which is glorious, but it can be a little bit tricky. There we go. Really just worked it right in, all over like that. Just make sure we get this other part of the tail down there, like so. Then what we do is we wash the brush, and then whilst it's still wet, we're just going to grab a load of wildwood. We're going to add this towards the middle of the pelt. We're going to come down like that on the tail, not all the way. Like that. You see, just takes one brush load to get it like this. Just do a little bit more around here. Perfect. And then we're going to wash the brush one more time, and then we're going to grab a load of black Templar. I'm going to do this right down the middle. Like that. Nice and simple. It looks very effective. When we're doing the little wolf's tails and things like that, what we're going to do is we're going to once again get a bunch of skeleton horde, and we're just going to whack it all over. But like with the little wolf tail at the bottom of that large kind of cloak pelt, we just want to kind of fade it down. The more liberal you are with the skeleton horde at this stage, the easier this bit is. So we wash the brush now, then we grab that wildwood, and then we're just going to do this from the tip to the middle. Like that. Wash the brush, and then a little bit of black Templar just on the end, like that. Now, for the large pelt on the back, what we want to do is we want to get this skeleton horde all over in much the same fashion as we have done so far. Like this. And just continuing over the top. And all the way around. like that. But what we want to do is we want to take the wildwood, and basically we want it to kind of fade out towards the end here, but the kind of this area, I'm going to build it up to around about the head, like that. I'm going to bring it over the ears, and then down the middle of the face, we want to bring that wildwood like that. So we're basically leaving that skeleton horde there towards the tip. Now I want that to be a little bit brighter, so I'm going to once again go back to the skeleton horde and just around here, just going to use it to blend those colours together a little bit more, like that, and like that. Then, whilst it's still wet, I go back to the black Templar. And then just over the top of the head, I'm going to add it. Like that. Wash the brush, grab the skeleton horde once again, and then just where those colours are all meeting, basically just want to fill it out. Like that. And then we want to bring that black Templar and wildwood down over the back of the pelt. Now it doesn't have to be perfect. Not many things in nature are. You just want to keep kind of shifting these three paints around until you get something that you're happy with. Like that, I'm pretty happy with that. So with that done, just whilst we wait for that to dry, what we're going to do is we're going to take some CYGOR brown. I'm going to use this to paint in any of the strings. Just like this. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some Basilicanum grey. I'm going to use this to paint in any of the little, small little kind of tokens and things. So like there's one just there. And there's another one just there. Like that. I've got a couple around his neck as well. A big one just there. Like that. But what we're also going to do, we're going to use this Basilicanum grey to paint in this Space Wolf Crux Terminatus. On his shoulder. Just like this. And so with that done, we're then going to take some skeleton horde. I'm going to apply this to all of our bone details. So this is going to include the skull, the top of his staff, as well as all the little fangs dotted around the model. So do just be on the lookout for them, because they do turn up all over the place. For example, we've got some down here on the leg. Like that. And with that done, we're then going to take some black Templar. I'm going to use this on any of the little claws on the pelts. So for example, just there, up here, and down here. Just there as well. Like that. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Retributor armor. We're going to now paint this over pretty much all of our remaining details. The only bits we're not going to be doing are the pistol handle, the jewel on his pistol holster, and this little area just here on the cyber raven hawk thing. I'm a Bobby Majigsy. But otherwise, we're going to get this Retributor armor all over these remaining details. Just like this. And so with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some LEADBELCHER. I'm going to use this to apply it to those remaining metallic details. So that pistol just there, like that. And a little gem on the holster. Got the little sort of lens here. Like that. And we've also got these large rings just here on the back. And then next up, I'm going to take some Flesh Terror's Red and use this on the cable just here. So with that now done, what we're going to do is going to add some shades, and the first one is going to be FYRESLAYER Flesh. I'm going to do this over the top of all of our gold details. Make them nice and warm. So with that done, it is now time to add some highlights to Njal, as he is now at what I would call a Warhipster battle ready. He's already looking awesome, but we're going to make him look even more awesome. So the highlights we're going to start with are on all of the armor. The color we're going to be using first is Fenrisian Grey. And what we're going to do is we're just going to start picking out all of those edges. Just like this. And so with that Fenrisian Grey applied, we then take some blue horror and we add this to the sharpest points around the armor. For example, just that corner there around the psychic hood, just there, in the corner. So with that done, all of our armor is now finished. So what we're going to do is going to move on to the yellow. And this is specifically the yellow shoulder pad. And the color we're going to be using to highlight this is Flash GITZ Yellow. So with that flash GITZ yellow applied, what we've done is we've also coloured in the wolf pelt's eyes at the top there with the flash GITZ yellow. What we're going to do next is we're going to take some Screaming Skull and we're going to use this as our little spot highlight for the yellow shoulder pad. So we're just going to pick up that corner just there, like that. We're also going to use this to highlight the leather holster just down here, like so. And we're also going to use this to highlight all the little fangs and claws. Scattered around the model. So with that Screaming Skull applied, still sticking with Screaming Skull for the moment, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little gentle dry brush of it over the top of our pelts. Just like that. Just a little bit on there. This doesn't have to go all over. You can create a little bit of variation by not going all over. So with that done across all of those pelts, what we're then going to do just to finish them off, take a little dot of black Templar. I'm going to add this as a pupil for the eyes. Our wolf pelt. Just like that. Kind of angle it towards the front of the eye. So it looks like it's looking forwards. Just like that. So I'm going to come at it from this angle. So with that now done, what we then do is we take some Flayed 1 flesh. I'm going to use this to highlight Njal's facial features. So just picking out areas like the bridge of his nose, his eyelids and his cheekbones. This Flayed 1 flesh. Just want to make sure that we get his lip as well. Just like this. With that done, we're then going to use a tiny bit of VOLUPUS pink. And use this to colour in his tongue. Just like that. And with that done, we're then going to use a really tiny amount of black Templar. I'm going to use this to colour in his eyeballs. There's a bit of schmutz there on my brush, so we'll start that again. So with that done, we're then going to take a tiny amount of black Templar. I'm going to use this to colour in his eyeballs. So with that done, we then want to take a really ditty tiny little dot of Screaming Skull. I want to add this in either corner of his eyeballs, as well as to pick out his teeth. So with that done, the face is now finished. And well, we don't need to do anything to the hair because it's already perfect. So what we're going to do now is going to move on. We're going to take some thinned down Administratum grey. I'm going to use this to highlight all of our stone features, so everywhere that we did with the Basilicanum grey. So all of these little runic devices. And our crux terminatus. And so with that done, we then take some Dawnstone and we use this highlight the little claws on the pelts, the bird, and the ribbed cables. So with that done, you might be thinking, why haven't I highlighted the staff? Well, the majority of the staff is actually these runes all the way along it that you can see. And actually what we want these to do is glow, and well, highlighting them with grey would just be wasted effort. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some CORAX white and we're going to thin it down a little bit more than we normally would, sort of 3 or 4 parts water in there. And because we want this to be nice and runny. And what we're going to do is we're going to take it on a small brush. So I'm using my little Artis Opus size 00, and we're just going to drop this CORAX white very carefully into the runes. Like so. Now it doesn't matter if you overlap it slightly. That's okay. And that will just contribute to the glowing effect. So with that CORAX white applied to all the runes across the staff, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some HOUND orange, and we're just going to very simply drop it in over the top. So with that done, what we then do is we take a little bit of LUGGANATH orange and we use this as a highlight around our runes. Just like this. So with those runes on the staff now done, what we're going to do is we're going to move on. And the next colour I'm going to be using is Evil Sun Scarlet. I'm going to be using this to highlight all of our red details. And with that Evil Sun Scarlet applied, we then take some CADIAN FLESHTONE and we use this as our cheeky little spot highlight. Like so. With that CADIAN FLESHTONE applied, we then take some Iron Hand Steel and we use that to highlight our silver details. And with that Iron Hand Steel applied, we're then going to add a little bit of Flesh Tearers Red to the couple of gems that we've got. So we've got one just here on the eagle eye there. We've got this one here on the pouch. Like that. And so with that Flesh Tearers Red applied to those lenses, we just have one thing left to do, which is to take some Liberator Gold and use this to highlight all of the gold details. And so, with that, Njal Stormcaller is now finished. The Chief Rune Priest, I think that's what they're called, librarian, basically, of the Space Wolves. He is their most powerful, and he is a wonderful little model. Even for Finecast, really fun to paint, really fun to have, and I'm just very, very happy. He's one I've always wanted for a long time, just like with the other Finecast miniatures that we've done on the channel so far. Really, really happy. I hope you really like it as well. Fits right in with the rest of the Space Wolves videos we've done as well. If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel, and you want to support me further like these legends and bosses on the screen before you, you can do so. Head to patreon.com/Warhipster or head to ko-fi.com/Warhipster. Alternatively, you can now become a YouTube channel member by heading to the channel page and clicking on the join button just here, just like these absolute bosses have done. And if you just want to shoot me a little thanks, just because you really love this video, you can click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.